Chris Kubal here with team coverage of severe weather in central Iowa. We have Chief Meteorologist Brad Edwards in the Weather Center as well. We have a tornado warning in effect until 11:45. This is going to be for the northern portion of Dallas County and also southern Boone County. This is now a confirmed tornado, and what we're watching here is just to the east, north and east of Minburn, moving to the north at about 50 miles per hour. So if you are in northern Dallas County up into Boone County, please be seeking shelter. I am going to jump to our debris detection because we do have confirmation via radar that tornado is on the ground. Anywhere you start to see that blue lowering, that is signal that there is a tornado on the ground. So this is moving to the north and east with time. If you're in Bhutan, up through Woodward, Madrid, please seek shelter for this tornado. Brad.
Yeah, and we want you folks to take shelter right now in those areas because this is the real deal. There's our little ball of debris, and it's heading off to the northeast. I think the movement's probably about 50 miles per hour, and I think Chris is going to put a tracker on that. But if you're in the Boughton area, Woodward area, we are looking at the possibility of that moving right into your area. It's going to be crossing 141. That's where it's going to be crossing right there. You can see. And what is the speed on that? Did they say?
About 50 miles per hour, so I didn't need to zoom out.
It's going to move pretty quickly here. So this one just popped up out of nowhere. It doesn't have any hail, doesn't have any wind, but it has that spin element, that rotational element. So it has produced a tornado here, and it has been confirmed by radar and also visually. You can see that Woodward's in the path, Luther's in the path, and there are the times. Woodward could see it by, say, 11:12 this morning. Luther is about 11:33. So it's moving very quickly. Take shelter in these areas for the next half hour or so as it moves on through. Now, we could have other spin-ups like this as well. Now, we're actually north of the tornado watch. The tornado watch is in southern Iowa, but that doesn't mean we can't have tornadoes here. We thought we should have a tornado watch here, actually, when they issued that. Right there, Chris is pointing that out, that little couplet right here to the northeast of Minburn. So that is just to the east of 169, east of Minburn, and it's going to be crossing up through here. Here's our shear detection, and this does lag a little bit behind, but it does show you where that rotation was, and it's moving off to the northeast. So a very rotational storm here. Again, it's not producing much more than this particular tornado, and the shear element 36 miles per hour, but probably even higher than that when it was developing. So we're going to keep an eye. Hopefully it's a short-lived tornado. Again, popping up out of nowhere. Look at the radar here, and there's heavy pockets of rain out there for sure, and that's what most of us are getting. But this is just a spin up along this line. We're getting that wind energy drawn into the system. If we could zoom out just a little bit, Chris, I want to show the metro included in the Des Moines area and put this into motion. So we've had this band go through, nothing much with that, and this looks non-discrete. We don't see much in there, but you can see just a small little couplet, the National Weather Service detecting that, and it did produce a tornado. So we'll see if we can get the sheriff or somebody else to confirm that. There are chasers in Iowa, but I'm not sure they're in this area, Chris. Are they?
No, I believe the sweet spot that we've been monitoring has been to the south, but this is trying to spin up just a little bit more now as we look to the north and east of Minburn. And what we're looking at is those greens as they go towards the radar site, and the reds are going away. So right there, there's that strong shearing action. Just to the south and west of Woodward, I'd say if you're in Woodward, please be seeking shelter up around that Highway 141 area. This one is headed your direction, and it doesn't look significantly robust, but it's that shearing and then that debris that we saw showing up on our CC product, giving us that confirmation that there have been reports of tornado activity going on there, and we're still seeing that little bit of a lowering. You see that green and kind of bluish area right there. That's our signal, and I'm going to actually rock it back for you a couple of minutes just so you can see how this has progressed. So coming up just to the south of Minburn, pardon me there 1 second. You can see it on the ground just about 11:08 south and west, southeast of Minburn, and moving. This is almost due north. So we put it up to about 141 here in about the next 4 or 5 minutes. Actually, it looks like a trajectory just to the west of Woodward, I'd say by about 3 or 4 miles. So if you are to the west of town, please make sure you're in your safe space. That's going to be the lowest level, most interior room of your dwelling, a permanent structure. If that's the basement, down into a basement, think of a bathroom or a closet to get into and then protect your head. That's going to be the best location. Now, since we don't have those deepest, darkest blues showing up, this means that that debris may be fanning out just a little bit, and you see that little donut hole, if you will, is starting to waste away a little bit. So we can confirm that there was at least a tornado on the ground, still could be on the ground at this juncture, and we're going to be keeping a close track on it. Since we have some new data in here, we'll go over to the velocity signal. It will try to update here momentarily, but you can see that track is moving to the north, and I would put it back to the west of Woodward just a little bit. So this would be east of Perry by about 5 miles as well.
I agree. It's generally heading really close to Woodward. I was looking at some of the NROT product there and looking at a loop of it, and it's kind of maybe turning a little bit more to the east, turning to the right a little bit. So it may get very, very close to the Woodward area. So be advised to be in your basement in Woodward, your safe place. The basement's always the best place to be. Of course, if you can go to your basement, the smallest center room, if you don't have a basement, stay away from windows. A bathroom is a good place, a closet, hallway. Cover yourself with a heavy blanket if you must, and just go to the lowest place you can. As many walls between you and the outdoors. Again, it looks like that cell. It doesn't look like a classical supercell, but we've got so much wind energy in the atmosphere that these little cells can kind of get their own act together inside this cluster of thunderstorms. So again, it's heading generally toward the Woodward area, and it's generally to the west of that, I think, Chris, but moving at 50 miles per hour, and the warning goes until 11:45, so we're going to be on for a little bit.
Yeah, and we're still going to be tracking that couplet as it now moves up into Boone County, just a few miles out, so this would be west of Madrid as well. Let me go ahead and pause it here, and you can kind of see the little kinks, if you will, the curvature of these individual cells. That's what we're going to be watching. So while this is in kind of the cold pool structure of the storm, we are able to sustain. We have a high amount of what we call shear in the atmosphere today, and the big question mark that we've been watching is the amount of energy that these storms can use. I've been kind of describing it here behind the scenes as a slow build up of that energy rather than a shotgun blast, say for building up that heat all day long, and into the afternoon suddenly those storms pop. This is not that scenario for today, so we're looking at these little individual bits of rotation in there, and still we're showing a little bit of a signal. Brad, can you take over on Max 1 for me? I'm going to have to give this a little bit.
Oh, okay, let's go to Max 1. Let's put Max 1 up behind me, and yeah, there's your warning right now, and of course that warning goes until 11:45. It is for the northeastern portion of Dallas County and also in Boone County, and it's coming into Boone County. It's going to be really close to the Woodward area here as we go through the next 20 minutes or so. So if you're in that area, the northern portion of Dallas County, southern portion of Boone County, you want to take shelter immediately right now. Tornado has been observed. We did see a debris ball, and it really is not a classic supercell type thunderstorm, but it does have a lot of wind energy with it, at least that rotational element. So I don't expect it's a large tornado, but it doesn't take a large one to do damage and to cause injury or even loss of life. So that's why we want to get everybody aware here in southern Boone County again. That's passing to the west of Woodward, it looks like, probably very, very close to Woodward area. And if Hannah, if you want to zoom in on that radar for me there, let's go in closer and just show what we're talking about. Let's go closer where we can see Woodward, and go ahead and stop that loop for me too, just to pause it. So here we are, this warning, it'll be basically up in this area right here. Let's zoom in even closer if we could, Hannah, and move it over. There you go, thank you. So there's Woodward right now, and that cell, it's passing 141 right now, that tornadic area, passing 141, passing just west of Woodward. Let me check some more data here. It looks like it has weakened to the last couple of scans, Chris.
Yeah, and still watching a couple of areas. I would actually say just southwest of Madrid, too, that we'd have to watch for maybe some of that shearing action just a little bit. As we're back over on Max 2, you can see that this tornado warning, that pink in polygon around it means that that tornado has been confirmed. But again, as I was kind of telling you about earlier, we're watching a few locations here and be where we start to see these little kidney bean curls. And this is the one that was responsible for the warning. It does look like that is starting to wash out just a little bit, and that's good news. I don't see anything really of significance associated with that one immediately upstream from Madrid, so that's good news.
Yeah.
But the area that we'd be watching on velocity right here would be just south and west of Woodward. This would be just north of Highway 141 and targeting Boone County into the next couple of minutes. A good trend, but we can't say it's all clear.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There is definitely a pocket of wind coming into Woodward right now, so you're going to have some windy weather for sure. We do have good news, at least on the radar, that it does look like it has weakened that circulation, and it was almost a surprise tornado to begin with, but things are hopefully going to improve here. What we're looking at is the debris detection. That was very, very discernible earlier, but now we really don't see that anymore. It's always a good sign. The radar doesn't lie to us usually. We can often, he's trying to pick it out right there, crossing 141. What's that?
I said that would be it.
That would be it. Yeah, that's all
what's
that's left
over of it.
So that's good news that we're seeing that going away. So hopefully nothing was damaged out there, no one was hurt. But the warning is going to continue until this thing completely falls apart or we get to 11:45. I think there's a good chance they may drop it. But these things spin up fast, Chris, because it was really went from nothing to a tornado on the ground in maybe 15 minutes.
It did, and only a minimal heads up to this one too is basically once we saw that, there was a slight little puckering in the velocity signal to suggest that maybe something was there, and then that next scan we were hit with that debris signature. And even though we don't necessarily get confirmation from the National Weather Service that this one is on the ground, just by looking at that debris detection, we can confirm that one is. That's one of the modern aspects of Doppler radar now just integrated in the last decade that makes it so much easier and convenient to really pinpoint where those tornadoes can be. So latest scan coming in, this would now be up into Boone County, and the concern into Dallas County would be really non-existent now that it's past you. So you can come out of your safe places, but please continue to be in your safe spots in southern Boone County. They'll be south of Highway 30, and the most immediate concern at the moment is going to be west of Madrid by about 4 or 5 miles or so, just north and west of Woodward. And there's a couple of areas I would watch, and I would say if you are in Woodward, continue to stay in your safe place. I think this data is a couple minutes old, it by now translated up into here, but I'd be watching that little bit of a shearing zone right there on the far southern part of that screen west of Woodward. I think the data is a couple of minutes old though, Brad.
On our GR product just north of Woodward. So there is it's that same cell that maybe it's trying to regenerate. It's obviously a little bit elevated, but there's still some rotational element there north of Woodward if you happen to see that, Chris. But
yeah.
I don't know if that's just a bad scan, but it does look like there's something going on north of Woodward. So let's say that cell's not completely dead yet, but like Chris said, if you're in Dallas County, you're okay. It's going to be southern Boone County, still watching that area. There's actually two areas maybe. One is north of Woodward and also north of Madrid maybe.
Yeah, based on looking at the GR or other radar product here off screen, I would say right here, northwest of Woodward, where I have that pinpoint on the arrow, would be of the biggest concern. Of course, that is currently still into that warning too, although that's moving into the northern extent of it. Apologies on the loop there, but I'll tell you, just by looking at the structure on the radar here, this is not your traditional supercellular thunderstorm that we commonly associate with. Keep in mind there's likely some small pockets of hail in here as well, but likely not of the significant variety. We've been seeing the updrafts with these thunderstorms generally on the weak side, and that's good news when it comes to severe weather. It means we can't hold that hailstone up, and also means a little bit less vigorous intensity perhaps with that tornado. Now that said, it is still a risk, and we need to heed that warning. If you do see it, make sure you are seeking shelter. But based on the radar picture alone that I'm showing you right here, it is just not that classic look, if you will, when it comes to tornadoes. Some other cells we have, say, across central and southern Iowa, they are further to the south where we do have a little bit more in the way of instability at disposal. And we're really going to be watching that southern edge. I think later on that's going to be the big focal point as we continue on into the afternoon, where those strongest cells are going to continue to develop. But at this point, right now, the one storm of mention is currently over Boone County. And notice the color of this warning changed. It's no longer confirmed to be on the ground, so this would be radar indicated and would be a suggestion that this storm has weakened as we've been kind of watching with you over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I've looked at all the data as well, and I'm not seeing any talk about this storm. He's showing you the shear detection again. We're watching 2 cells right now, but this one has weakened. This is the one that generated the tornado moving into Boone County, and it has weakened, so that's good news. This one is another pocket, but it still hasn't produced a tornado, so we're kind of watching things very closely here, but no one, the National Weather Service, there's no storm reports or storm spotters still seeing any rotation at all with that cell, so that's good news with that. Looking at my radar here, still more thunderstorms coming into the metro. And again, there's just so much wind energy, so much shear in the atmosphere that if conditions become right, and it's kind of a conditional conditions, if you will, because it's really those small little pockets inside the environment that kind of generate their own little environment for tornado development. Because in general, we're just not looking at a good environment right now, but there's a lot of wind energy. And later today, we may have some supercells. We may have some hail. We may have some tornadoes, but that's not what we have here. These are basically heavy rain thunderstorms with definitely some pockets of, is that Max 2 still giving you issues? Yeah. Okay, we're just going to give up. We'll just be on Max 1 then as we go through this event, because Max 2, let's give it a restart. So here's our cell again, and this is again continuing up into Boone County until 11:45. We've got about 15 more minutes on that, but this cell has weakened quite a bit, so hopefully things will get weak enough that we can just drop the warning. We're going to let the National Weather Service drop that, but we've definitely noticed, and they're probably noticing too, that it has weakened quite a bit. Let me look a closer look here. Chris, you see anything that you?
No, it's really tough to pick out a couplet at this point, and we have the debris detection going on. Let me back it up and just, you can watch the progression of that debris ball. There it is, east of Minburn and moving to the north, and then it gets washed back out a bit. There's some bad data there around those highway shields, but it does wash out, and that's a good trend, and I am just not seeing anything supportive of significant severe weather happening at the moment.
Yep, that's good news. So we are going to see more thunderstorms in this area, and they could become severe very quickly. Tornadoes, the primary threat here probably. The hail, they've got to get bigger. I mean, you can't have big hail without big storms, and these just aren't very big storms right now. But they certainly could grow in size as we go into the afternoon hours, and we are going to see some more pockets of heavy rain. You can see these thunderstorms here. So this was a bit of a surprise, but it did happen. So we've been talking about this storm system for days, really, and it's basically come to fruition that it did produce a tornado near the metro, and apparently it was on the ground. We have pretty much confirmation of that now. So showers and thunderstorms continue to move in. This is hail size. Chris is showing that, and the lack of hail basically is the notable thing here. A little bit. This is one that probably went through Sheraton, right, Chris, your folks?
Yeah, we did have a report of up to 3/4 inch size hail there, the radar estimate there. South of Melcher Dallas up through the Williamson area would be around 1/2 of an inch. But like you're mentioning, Brad, we just don't have the vigorous updrafts to support significant hail at the moment. Let me make sure the warning is still on.
I think we got a bogus TVS, but it is north of Polk City and northern Polk County.
Okay, yeah, I'm not too keen on that at the moment.
I think that's bogus, yeah.
It's not quite the shape that we'd be looking for at this point.
Even I don't know why it triggered that, but there's that.
And we have to keep in mind, it's not just tornadic activity that can be tracked by this too. Perhaps it could be some birds. It is very close to the radar site. So that beam would be lower. I don't think that's anything.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it is, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, so things are improving, it looks like, in Boone County. But do stay safe for a little while longer as we watch this system. The velocity has not been showing much going on. Chris?
Well, the Dallas County Emergency Management is saying that they're looking for damage between Minburn, and they haven't spotted anything yet, but of course they'll be keeping us updated.
Probably an outbuilding might have been hit.
We'd watch that, yeah. Certainly, definitely not in town, but to the east.
And when we see, when Chris shows the debris signature on there that we look at, that debris ball, that basically could be anything. It could be sticks, twigs, could be corn stalks, anything that it picks up off the ground, dirt, and we see that from earlier today. If you put that loop on again, I could show that again, but that was pretty interesting how that developed with that loop.
Let me slow it down for you here.
Slow it down, yeah. It's right in that little ball right there going off, right there. So moving just, and then it kind of went away after that. So It really didn't see much after that.
And that's a good trend.
All right, so we are still monitoring everything across the area. We still have rain and thunderstorms. In fact, there's very little thunder. If you noticed here in the metro, we've had very little thunder. So that just tells me these are not very tall. These are not very big thunderstorms. They're not producing much lightning and thunder right now, at least that we've heard.
Yeah. At this point, and we're starting to watch those areas with the circulation, and we'll go to the velocity picture here, and I'm just not seeing any significant circulations at the moment showing up on the velocity signal.
Yeah, they could probably go ahead and end this warning if they wanted to, but we'll wait it out a few more minutes and see what happens.
Yeah, so really the rain is beneficial here with everything that's going on, and that's awesome. But we just want to stay away from the severe characteristics that we have briefly popped up. And so inside all of these cells now, we're going to be looking for those very minor circulations, if you will, and perhaps something can briefly spin up. You saw how quick that was, and it was only a matter of 5 minutes or so. Well, that one was on the ground. So still southern Boone County, be on alert. At this point, I'm not confident that anything is currently on the ground associated with that. Let's go ahead and jump over to Max 2. We have that one up and running. If it gets a fits, we'll call the back for number 1. But this one with the latest update, we'll get the sweep to come through. It's a little bit half and half at the moment, but there's just no, earlier I was pointing out the little kidney bean type curvature to the storm, and we're really only have one, and that's south of Luther, and I'll tell you right now, it just does not correlate with much right now showing up on the velocity signal. So a good trend, certainly.
I agree. The things are looking a lot better out there. I'm not seeing anything that is alarming at all. Things are improving. Overall, I see the general environment, the storms have weakened in the last 60 minutes or so. They were stronger earlier when we had the Sheraton hail and we had some wind, and overall, they've just kind of lost a little bit of their energy, so that's good news there. Still looking for pockets of rotation. I don't see any right now. I would be comfortable, Chris, giving it back to the newscast if they wanted to do that, but do you think, because I don't believe, I think this warning probably should be expired. But
yeah, we'll go ahead and take a break and assess the radar here behind the scenes. Just know that tornado warning does extend another 10 minutes till 11:45 in southern Boone County. Please be seeking shelter in the area, and we'll be back with updates should it be warranted.
Hi, everyone. I'm Local 5 Chief Meteorologist Brad Edwards, along with meteorologist Chris Kubal, watching severe weather here in northwest Iowa. New tornado confirmed on the ground near Rockwell City. That is in the northern part of Calhoun County, moving to the north. So this is a new tornado. It has developed in the last few minutes out there, right near the Rockwell City area, moving north. And the speed of that, how fast is that, Chris? 35. 35 miles per hour. Go ahead and open up Chris's mic there too. So this is moving 35 miles per hour to the north. So if you're in the path of this storm and tornado, take shelter immediately. That'd be Pocahontas and the Rolfe area, but also Manson and Palmer should show up there. You can see the whole list right there. Moving to the north at 35 miles per hour. And again, this is similar. It's been pretty quiet for a couple of hours now. We haven't really had much severe weather, but now another tornado popping up from a fairly small thunderstorm, but it doesn't take much. There's so much spin energy in the atmosphere. It's likely a small tornado, but right here in Rockwell City, likely confirmed with a viewer there. I'm sure somebody saw that spotter, and it's near Highway 4 and getting closer to Highway 20 as it moves off to the north. So again, this is a cell. You can see it right there, the inbound and the outbound rotation. Heading up toward the Twin Lakes area, Pomeroy, Manson as well, heading in those directions, and those inbound, outbound winds are forming a nice little couplet right here where the tornado was spotted. And again, these can be very dangerous, even though they're small tornadoes. We had some damage earlier this evening, or earlier today, I should say, and that was down to the south. Now this is moving off to the north, and it's going to be affecting these areas up to the north. It doesn't really have any other severe weather elements with it. There's no real large hail, no wind. It's just got that rotational element, and that tornado right here on the very end of the storm is where we're seeing that tornado. Have we gotten any more reports coming in, Chris?
No, just that it was confirmed by trained spotter near 5 miles southwest of Kierim.
Okay.
Apologies on the town pronunciation there, but it is from a trained spotter. We're also concerned with the storm of up to $half size.
Oh, it is got large.
Inch
Okay.
and a quarter. You can see that pegging there running just out of Rockwell City on the north side where
Okay.
those pinks are. Likely going to be some hail in there too, but also that confirmed tornado on the ground.
Okay. Yeah, it is moving off to the north as well. And we're watching other storms too in southeast Iowa. There's a storm around Ottumwa, but it's not nearly as intense right now. But there are some stronger storms out there in eastern Iowa. What's kind of unusual about today is we're seeing the tornadoes in northwest Iowa now, and not so much here in southeastern Iowa. But you do have some severe weather, some severe storms. We're keeping an eye on these as well for you folks in Ottumwa, Centerville, and the Moulton area, and that warning is going till 3 p.m. today. And again, there's always the possibility a tornado could spin up with the environment that we have right now. And again, radar indicated severe weather in this area. These are moving off to the northeast much quicker, probably 50 miles per hour. And back to our tornado warning, of course, that's in Calhoun County, and it'll be moving on to the north into Pocahontas County. So kind of on the edge of our viewing area. If you're watching us there, thank you very much, in Rockwell City, and moving up to the north of Highway 20 now. It's probably right about at Highway 20, and I'm not sure our shear detection.
There's some there, but it's just not showing up as very much.
Yeah.
Just barely hinting northeast of Rockwell City. Small, tiny
right here.
little blip, and that is it that we're seeing. So looking at the scenario here, I'm struggling to see the huge shear. I do see kind of the couplet we're watching, but we have to keep in mind this is so far away from the radar site,
Yes.
it becomes very difficult to see. So this is moving north of Highway 20 at the moment, and as I highlight this one, this would be the area of concern. So if you're upstream, between Rockwell City and Manson up through Palmer, you need to be seeking shelter for this confirmed tornado. This was spotted by a trained weather spotter at 2:35 as the storm passed over Rockwell City.
Yeah.
And it's moving off to the north at about 35 miles per hour. Still on the ground. That's the latest report.
Okay.
As of 2:41, that tornado is still on the ground near Rockwell City. So continue
Yeah.
to seek shelter.
It looks like to me it's going to move very, very close to Manson and maybe just west of Manson. But looking at some of the rotational products on some other radar data, and this is where it's heading. I think it's heading up generally in this direction. So if you live in that area, seek shelter immediately, stay put there. And again, it's probably hopefully a small tornado, given the size of the storm system itself. But it is moving off in this direction, crossing Highway 20 right now. It'll be heading up toward Highway 7 here, again, just to the west of Manson, or very, very close to Manson within the next 15, 20 minutes or so as it moves to the north. And again, we haven't had any reports of any damage with this yet. Earlier, we had some damage to an outbuilding from a brief tornado, and this one may be a similar type storm system right now as it moves off to the north. And there is that severe thunderstorm warning up in Pocahontas County right now. 2 cells going on right now, and I think both of them capable of producing some hail. They've really kind of genned up here in the last 30 minutes or so. We've been watching these cells for a while. They didn't look very impressive until the last, recent 15 minutes or so. They really got a push of energy, so they are really going to town here. And you can see they're really lifting almost straight north, but we'll watch that circulation. I'm looking again. It's still in that area. It's between Rockwell City and Kiernan, or however we're not sure the pronunciation on that, but that city.
Kinirim.
Did you look it up?
That's what I'm going based off phonetics. Not quite as familiar with the northwestern Iowa, but yeah, this would be up near Manson at the moment, just south of town now, the area of interest. You do also see that severe thunderstorm warning that is also in place. Pocahontas County is in there as well. We'll go ahead and get that one up here too. We'll get some of those details on what we have. So this tornado warning extends till 3:15. Again, confirmed tornado on the ground from spotters, and that's been continues on the ground as this storm moves to the north. And then we're looking at severe thunderstorm warning into Pocahontas County at the moment. I'll get those details up here on screen for you. This goes until 3:30. It is radar indicated, and what we're looking at there is going to be mainly hail and possibilities, some strong winds, but I'm looking at as mainly hail coming in off of this storm.
Yep. So it is Kinirim. I looked it up. Kinirim is where that little city was, but again, it's moving mainly just to the west of the Manson areas where that circulation is going. If the tornado is still on the ground, that's probably where it's going to track as it moves up. Again, heading into the Palmer area, Gilmore City, if it holds together, so take shelter. You're under a tornado warning in this area right now. We've had several tornadoes reported in northwest Iowa, of all places, and out toward Nebraska. It's underneath that low. It's a very powerful area of low pressure creating that. And again, it's moving off to the north into this area. So just close to Manson, Palmer, Pocahontas, all in the path of that storm. Take shelter immediately. Here's where our original report was from there, Kinirim and Rockwell City, right between those 2 cities. So thankfully, we don't know of any damage or anything like that. So that's good news about that. Now, expanding on out, I just want to look at the big picture here and see the radar again. We'll go back to that. Things have been pretty quiet in the metro. We had a tornado warning, of course, in northern Dallas County earlier. This is new development here. All the other development has moved to the east. I don't think the metro is probably going to see any more storms today. We're probably in the clear here. This activity is moving away from us. This activity is moving away from us. So we're kind of in this pocket of sunshine right now. Temperatures are in the 70s right now. It's not dangerous at all to be out in the metro. We do have some clouds developing back here to the west. We'll have to keep an eye on that for possible development, but right now they haven't done that yet. So we're okay for now in the metro. So we're watching 2 areas, southeast Iowa and northwest Iowa, kind of all around us. On the edge of our viewing area really is where all the activity is right now. And look at all that clear skies out here to the west. There's dry air pushing in. Of course, dry air is the enemy of thunderstorms. They don't like that, so it's kind of squashing them back here in this area. So we are looking again at the radar being fairly active in those areas. That's the dry line that Chris is drawing there, so that dry air pushes in. We call it a dry line because it's not a cold front. The warm air is still here. It's just much, much drier air coming in out of the desert southwest and those areas. So we do have a tornado warning, a new one up here by Cedar Rapids, again outside the viewing area. Looks like that's in Butler County.
Brad,
right
it
now.
looks like reports coming in from spotters that the tornado has lifted near Rockwell City.
Oh, good.
They've lost visual on any rotation at this moment, and the tornado has lifted.
Good deal.
So that's good news. The severe thunderstorm warning for Davis and Wapello County has gone by the wayside, but we're still carrying that tornado warning up there into Calhoun and Pocahontas County until 3:45, if I remember correctly, if that's the correct time.
Or is it 3:15?
Or 3:15.
3:15, I
Either
think it
way,
is.
the next 15, 30 minutes
So just
need to be on alert.
Yep,
for this.
keep your keep your guard up in northern Calhoun, southern Pocahontas County for that one. And again, that new warning out in the Benton area, Benton County.
315.
Yeah, okay, 315. So that's heading into a more populated area out there into eastern Iowa. That's going to be a potential problem for those folks.
Yeah, it's not often we talk about a dry line into Iowa. That's usually more reserved for the plains down south, Kansas and Oklahoma, but in this early season setup, we do have one. And so that dry line is, in a sense, so often what we attribute to a cold front kind of ending the threat. The dry line will end the threat a bit as we pull that drier air in. You just can't build those thunderstorms off that drier air. And right now, where that dry line is situated is just to the west of the metro, to about the Osceola area. And we can actually show you some of the dew points, and that will show you where the threat has come to an end. So you see those 40s and 30s in southwestern Iowa. That's not going to be enough to get the job done there. So that dry line will end the threat. But then again, we also had those clouds trying to pop up just to the west of I-35. So that's where that dry line is, and we're going to be watching for additional development off that as we continue on through the afternoon. And that dry line, it actually runs into the occluded front up to the north, back to the west towards Rockwell City, and that's what actually caused that tornado to pop up. But you move back to the west, anywhere in this clear air, and there's really no huge concern through southwestern Iowa for any additional development of severe storms. Now, I'll say anything along this dry line has struggled until we got this one storm to pop up on us back to the west of Fort Dodge. You do see the expanse of a tornado watch that is in place for most of Iowa, and excluded there is southwestern Iowa. Now, the timing for most of the Local 5 area lasts through 6 o'clock with this tornado watch, but it is certainly in there for the next few hours, but most of the threats kind of on the periphery at this point. I'm going to go ahead and pause this right now. Again, this tornado warning.
There's still some rotation, Chris, west of Manson. So
okay. Yeah, it's there.
There's a little rotation west of Manson.